Welcome back to 3DPO, and in this video of this series for the CN3D Xenomorph tool head, now that we've completed the magnetic conduction between the tool head and the faceplate to drive our part cooling fans and LEDs, now we're going to add the additional things that we need for, in my case, the Clicky. And for the Clicky, I need the X-Carriage, X-Carriage end stop. We're also going to be installing the filament cutter, okay, along with its blades. All right, and then we're going to be installing the Clicky. Okay, so this part right here, along with its wiring. Once we have this all put together, we're then going to do a video on how to mount the entire tool head to the X-Carriage inside of the Solval SV08. That'll include the NOMI for our clipper display, if you will, as well as our hot end. In my case, I'm using the Rapido UHF Ultra High Flow, and we'll get everything working. It's going to be fun, and I'm trying to make it so these aren't as nearly as long as the other ones I've done previously. So we'll get right to it. Well, I didn't turn the microphone on, so I'm going to do a voiceover here. So we're going to start doing the filament cutter, and there's a blade. I'm going to show you how to make that. And it just slides into the extruder body. There's a lever with a spring and two screws that one holds the blade, one is for the lever. And you can see here that it just slices the filament off just slightly above where the hot end sits, very similar to how Bamboo Labs does it. I'm going to demonstrate here that we can put a piece of filament through the filament path, give a firm squeeze, and it pops right off. So there's our filament cutter. So I'm going to show you now how we make a blade for the filament cutter. It's pretty easy. That will be 20 millimeters long when we're done. The blade itself. So from the body to the tip is going to be 20 millimeters. So we're going to take that small body piece and a number 4 hobby blade. And these ones are long, so they need to be cut, but we're going to split it. So what I do is I use a pair of needle nose pliers and I place it just before the opening where a screw would normally go in a tool. And then I'm going to wrap it with something protective, and I'm going to break it off right there. That seems to be the 20 millimeter spot once inserted into the push piece. So, you know, the blades, when they come from the factory, they typically have some machine oil on them from machining the ends. So I'm just going to do a test fitting here to make sure it slides in okay. And you can see, yep, that's 20 millimeters. It's right on the money. And here I am measuring to make sure that I'm not lying to you. And it comes out to 20 millimeters. You can't really see it, but it's 20 millimeters. And then what we want to do is, because that machine oil may be on there and we're going to be using some glue on here, is I use some fine grit sandpaper and I sand the end of the blade so that when I put the glue down into the hole, it'll sit, it'll go right down on the blade. So what I do is I just take some glue, some CA, and some activator. and I just kind of force the glue down into that small opening there. And what's important here is that I'll take the blade and I'll put it in the slot, and then I'll slide it back and forth to make sure that glue appears on the blade itself. Once I see glue on the blade, I know that now all I have to do is spray the activator on there, and it will harden. It'll harden the glue on the sanded portion of that blade. But what will happen is once the glue sets, is where I put the glue into the opening, it'll leave a little bit of a bump, and I'll show you that right here, I believe. So it leaves a little bit of a bump, okay, a little bit of a bump. So what we're going to need to do is sand that down so that it slides easily in and out of the extruder body. So give it a little bit of sanding there. And it looks good to me. And I made 4 of them. I just printed 4. I made 4 as long as I was making one. So there's one already in extruder body here, and I made some additional ones, some extras. All right, so 20 millimeter blades. Nice simple mechanism. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the Clicky, and we're going to do the X-Carriage end stop. Okay. So we have I have the in the previous videos I did the Nomi and the hot end, and now I'm going to put on the Clicky, and the Clicky is going to have the connectors along with the magnets down below, and they're going to fit like that into the tool head. Okay. All right. So a couple things. I personally printed these 2 pieces of the Clicky. I printed these at 101%. It made the magnets go in a little bit easier, so I could just use pressure rather than having to really jam them in. So I did 101%. And, turn the light down a little bit. Okay, and that's what we have. So let's go through how I did this. All right, so I just have a piece of wire, doesn't matter what size, just as long as there's a JST connector on the end. Okay, and there are 2 holes in the middle and 2 holes on the outside. You can see that. 2 holes in the middle, 2 on the outside. What I did was I stripped this wire pretty long, and then I just took a little bit of solder and I just tinned the very tips so that it wouldn't fray, because I want there to be some separation in the strands when the magnet goes in and separates the wires. Doesn't matter, polarity is not a problem. All we're going to be doing is grounding a pin. So I'm going to take these 2 wires and put them through these holes. And I'm going to grab my and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the ends of these wires, bend them around like that, and then stick it through the hole. And then it'll be sticking out on the other side. I don't know if you can see that, but it's sticking out a little bit. All right, and I'm going to take this wire and do the same. Okay. It's actually easier than I'm making it look. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull these wires up so that they're kind of taut. Now you can see the two wires, right, and make a loop over the bottom. Now there's going to be 3 magnets, and the way that Nadir has explained this to me is that there'll be 2 of similar polarity and 1 of other polarity. Okay, so I'm going to take a magnet of the same polarity on this side, 1 on this side, and then 1 of opposite polarity in the rear. Okay, and then I'm just going to take this and push it down on a hard surface. You can't see it. This is not hard enough. And there you go. Okay, so there is Clicky. All right, then I'm just going to clip off the extras here, like that. And you know what? I can visually see the contact, but I will obviously take my ohm meter and check continuity on this. All right. And then we have the actual the Clicky probe, right? So docking mechanism, probe, right? And you'll see they're printed into the top is an arrow. See that arrow? All right, and that's where the switch is going to be. So the switch, and it just goes into those 3 holes. Okay, just like that. Let's do that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and then I'm going to take 2 screws. It's in the bill of materials. 2 screws. They're long and skinny. Okay, and hopefully you can see this, but the pins themselves occupy the space next to the magnets. It's exactly the same as the dock, right? Okay, so we got to get some more magnets here. It makes it easier when there's a long bunch of them. I can push harder. So what I need to know is polarity. Okay, so since that one goes like that, I know that this one goes like this, and that this one goes like this, and that the other one goes like, the other one goes like that. Push it on my flat surface here. And if you want to glue these ones in, you can. So, hey, look at that. Okay, and the way that this is going to work, there's going to be another magnet in the back. I'll put that magnet in a second. So when it goes into the dock, where's the dock? Okay. So the dock already has a magnet in it, okay? But just for demonstration, what'll happen is, let's put it in. Okay, so I'll find the polarity, all right, and then I'll put it into the probe. This one might need a little bit of glue. I'll do that when I'm done. And that way, the probe sticks to the dock. See, I'm going to need to put some glue in there. Okay. So that one's going to need some glue. But be that as it may, the way this is going to work is it docks, it goes into the actual Clicky dock here. I'm going to do it this way so you can see. All right, so it would go into the dock. All right, and then it would pull it away. Then it would be free. And then when it goes back, clicks into the dock, it'll move to the side, and the magnet will hold the probe in place. Okay, so this will be mounted in the back on the on the gantry. And there's a whole bunch of procedures for that. They're actually, I'll put a link to the description and instructions with the video. Okay, so now we have Clicky. Right. And then what we need is our X end stop. And our X end stop is just a simple micro switch, 2 wires. And what I did was I just cut these wires really short. I cut the not the wires, but the actual connectors. I cut them really short. Only 2 of them are used. The one in the middle I almost cut off completely. Soldered the wires because it has to fit into a tight spot. All right, and where that goes is right here. Okay. So I'm just gonna, and what I did was I for the JST, in case I had to get it in any tight spots. Okay. And that will go up through this little recess back here. That's where these wires will go. All right. But regardless, it's a pretty easy mount. I'm going to mount mine like this. Just like that. 2 more screws, exact same kind. Let me get those. Let me find those. I know I have those down. All right, and these screws are just going to go right through there. You probably hear all my printers running in the background there. Got a few things going. All right, and there we go. X-Carriage end stop. All right. So then we're just going to look at the final assembly. Be right back. Okay, so we're just about ready to mount this to the printer. And so Nadir at CN3D just gave me a file for a new tension knob for the extruder. And so made a couple little changes, but I'm sure that'll be available to you immediately. Okay. All right, so right now we have the X end stop. We have the Clicky. Everything is metered. The wiring for the end stop is PB6 to ground, and the wiring for the Clicky is PB8 to ground on the EBB36.